How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading while the price is going up or down. Fed's interest rate decision meeting is approaching. What are the expectations? So they're expected to keep interest rates consistent, meeting November 1st. There's a possibility of another rate hike in December or later, but as long as the economy stays where it is, and we don't see core inflation and inflation increase too much, the Fed is likely going to keep the target between 5.25 and 5.5%. Crypto Lobby Group files a miscus brief. An SEC lawsuit against Binance likens them to e-commerce giant Amazon. The Chamber of Digital Commerce told the U.S. District Court of Columbia that the U.S., once a new haven for new tech, is pushing away crypto and blockchain technology. It said now, however, one of the newest frontiers of the digital economy is conspicuously avoiding the United States, finding the regulatory environment too opaque and too hostile to conduct business here. The Chamber of Digital Commerce argues that the SEC's charges are akin to suing a grocery store for selling oranges, while likening Binance to Amazon. Tokens alone are not securities, and the markets where they are available to buy and sell are not securities exchanges. Whether or not a token was initially sold as part of an investment contract is of no consequence. SEC dismisses lawsuit against Ripple execs in stunning capitulation. The SEC voluntarily dismissed charges Thursday against Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and Executive Chairman Chris Larsen, both of whom have been charged alongside the company for allegedly violating the securities laws with the sale of XRP tokens. Garlinghouse and Larsen were first charged in late 2020, along with Ripple, for allegedly violating securities laws by offering and distributing the cryptocurrency XRP. Chris Larsen said in a statement, "While justice ultimately prevailed, the government's actions that led to this point raised questions about the origin and motivation of this lawsuit." So, regardless, the regulator is still pressing forward with their overreaching case against Ripple, so if you're curious what's next for Ripple, they still have their lawsuit. But this article does mention final judgment will be entered in the case next spring. So we have about a year of more pain for XRP. It may move with the rest of the market yet, but we won't get any clarity for a year. RSI is overall heading out, stochastics overall heading out, momentum is pushing down here on the Dixie. This is for our weekly close. Our VWAP is pushing in the bearish territory, so overall we are looking like we do want to push away. We could have a descending triangle forming here that could end up bringing us down. The next few days aren't going to bring us much candles, so on Monday we're going to have to see if we have a green or a red candle. If we have more red candles starting, we could just start to push down. Over on our total, we did try to break our resistance, but we were not able to get through. We did get through the Fibonacci resistance, but we stopped out at that red EMA level. RSI is heading up, stochastics running up, that VWAP's pushing up, money flows in the bullish territory, and that momentum is trying to head up, but it shows signs that it wants to round away, as our VWAP is at a bit of a high spot at the 16 zone. You can see last time we dipped from there. Back here, we took a little bit of a run up, but ultimately wound up crashing. And back here, we got a little bit of a run up with some red candles and ultimately fell down. So we may see this zone ultimately give way to the bearish action if we're not able to break through this resistance here. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we are trying to push above our pattern. If I can get it to zoom, we could call this invalidated at this point, as we have a confirmation green candle and we are pushing into this lower volume area. This area should be an area where we don't meet too much resistance as far as this local trend. So Bitcoin dominance could have the potential to tick up quite a bit here to around that 56% like we mentioned last night. Our stochastics overall rounding away. RSI wants to trend up, our momentum is trending up, that money flow is trending up, and the VWAP is in a bit of a bearish trend with lower highs. If that VWAP breaks here, and makes a lower low, we would start a bearish trend, and then our Bitcoin dominance may start to slip. Over on our futures, we are ramping up. We're trying to break away from this possible rising channel. So we are trying to get more of a clean push to the upside. Stochastic is pretty maxed out here. RSI wants to push forward. That momentum is getting slightly lower highs, even though price is getting higher highs. So we do have bearish divergence here forming. And VWAP is in the bullish territory. It is running forward, but I would just keep an eye on it. If we're not able to break above this 8 zone, I believe that's where we are, right about 8-9. If we're not able to break through this zone, then we meet resistance like we have a few times in the past. We could easily start to pull back from here. We did jump up to that support resistance area where I did warn about. So this is likely where we would see our push to the downside. Over on Bitcoin, real quick, if you haven't already, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join us in the Discord. We're almost done making everyone's statues, so we'll have time to make everyone else's statues. That's where you get your daily updates. We can talk to each other. You need any advice or any suggestions, I can give you more one-on-one time there. You can ask anyone questions. We're all there for it. We do have this bull flag that we drew, and we pretty much took the full move of it. So I'm going to delete this flag, as I never count on the pattern playing twice. We are still under this other pattern that we had, so like I warned about, we're getting stopped out just under this higher volume area. If we are not able to get further green candles and continue up and break through this higher volume node, right around this 30.2K, 30.3K area, then we are likely going to see a break to the downside and a flush out from here. That is likely where we would finally see that 20K play, as this would be our retest of our pattern. This would be where we want to look for a confirmation of a push to the upside or downside. Our stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is trying to push forward. That momentum wants to run up, but we have bearish divergence with it, so keep an eye on it. Our VWAP is overall heading out. That money flow is in the bullish territory, trying to make a pretty good bounce off the neutral here. So we do have some pretty decent signs. But I would watch these lower time frames. If our lower time frames start to show some weakness, then it is very likely we will see lower price action. Over on the 4-hour here, we are trying to make a bit of a rounding bottom pattern, so that could be positive, but we're going to need some strong green candles after this candle. Momentum's rolling away, stochastic's pushing down, RSI is sliding. We have a pretty much a double red dot right here. That double red dot is starting to play out, but we're trying to invalidate it, so we have a little indecision going. If we're able to sustain green candles, we can see these EMAs continue to drag back up. Our lower EMAs are almost all above our higher EMAs, so we do have a pretty decent bullish trend. But looking at how spread apart these EMAs are, it is possibly time for a pullback. These EMAs got a little more spread apart here. They started to curl out and curl back in. If you look back here, when they got spread apart very tight, we did come back up, kind of ranged around. So usually when, oops, did not mean to move that. Usually when you see these EMAs make these very big moves and like have big gaps, that's usually when they'll start to pull back together and price action will either go flat or it'll ultimately start to fall. So just keep an eye on that. We're trending above our golden pocket here. If we can continue and make a bounce off our golden pocket, that would be a bullish move for us to possibly trend to this 35K zone, where we do have that gap to the upside. Over on the 2-hour, we are trying to get a little bit of a rounding bottom here that wants to pull us back up. Our momentum's overall heading out. Stochastic's pushing down. It does have a slight bullish cross, but that doesn't look too strong currently. RSI's trying to head up. Our VWAP's trying to break through that bullish side. Our money flow is well in the bullish territory. So with the money flow maintaining bullish strength, we do still have potential to make another kind of flag and push back up and try to test even closer to our previous pattern. Over on the 1 hour, our RSI is heading up, momentum is pushing forward, our stochastic is trying to run up, and our VWAP is in the bullish territory. So this money flow is sustaining bullish strength on the 1 hour as well, so that could signal that we would have potential to continue back up. But our VWAP is starting to kind of round away, starting to get a little weaker. We did make a higher high comparative to this one. So if that trend can continue, we may kind of zigzag around, keep pushing up. But I would just watch if we start to see the money flow and VWAP weaken. If we start favoring the bearish territory, then it is possible we could see a push to the downside. But right now it's looking like we may have a little more movement to the upside or a possibility of a flag. Over on graph, that is not financial advice by the way, just my opinion. We are trying to break our resistance area, so again, that is why we did not delete it right away, because we're kind of just hanging out right around it. RSI is heading up, stochastic wants to run up with a green dot. That VWAP is trying to push that neutral, our money flow is trying to push through that neutral, and the momentum has a green dot to help push us forward as well, because that VWAP is in the bullish territory. If these signals can continue and our money flow flips back bullish and gains strength and our VWAP zigzags around, then we could continue and make a trend to the upside. Now, I'm not saying everything's bottomed here, but it does look like a possibility. Our stochastic is going flat, RSI is starting to head up, that VWAP is overall coming down. Just remember that gap to the downside on futures is the 80% possibility to fill. Again, smash that like though. Our momentum is trying to push forward, that VWAP starting to head out. Money flow is struggling to maintain that bullish momentum, but we are in the bullish territory. If the money flow can keep zigzagging in the bullish territory, we could see price action continue back up and try to retest our previous pattern. So I will move that right back there, and we will see if we try to come back up, or if this yellow EMA acts as resistance and we pull back under it. We'll kind of have to watch these lower time frames to evaluate what the probabilities are. Our lower EMA is crossing a higher EMA for a bullish cross here above a resistance level, but we are stopping out on another EMA. If we are able to sustain this level, we could continue and try to break these other 4 EMAs. The stochastic is kind of making bearish divergence technically, as it's not getting higher highs, but it really can't here. The stochastic's starting to roll away, RSI is starting to roll away, that momentum wants to roll away, that VWAP is just barely above that bullish territory, and the money flow is trying to kind of peek into the bullish territory. If our money flow can sustain bullish strength and that VWAP starts to flutter around, we could get a decent move to the upside. So I would watch these lower time frames very close. Over on the 1 hour, we are getting stopped out by our highest EMA right now. If we do ultimately pull back and break this support level right around that 8.74 cents, then we could see further downside. RSI is trying to head up, our stochastic's trying to run up, momentum's trying to push up, but our momentum's making a bit of bearish divergence here with lower highs. Our money flow is in the bullish territory, but it's not very strong, so this could be a little bit of a peak to the bullish side that could fade away. Our VWAP is rolling over, so I would watch very closely. It does look like we do have a possibility to roll over here. Over on Anchor for the daily, we have a very strong move to the upside, just like everything else. Stochastic is coming out. Our RSI wants to bounce up. Our money flow wants to push forward. That VWAP is trying to break bullish, and our momentum's getting a green dot that wants to push us forward as well. Over on the 4 hour, we are continuing up. We are kind of hanging right where all these wicks are, so that shows why wicks and bodies act as areas of support and resistance. Stochastic is rolling away. RSI wants to head up. That money flow wants to trend up. The VWAP is heading out and the momentum is trying to come up. But if that VWAP continues out, that momentum is likely going to start to weaken. Over on the 2 hour, we have a slight gap to the downside here. We did fill a gap to the upside around that 1933. We had that gap around that 2 cent area where I warned about. Now we have a gap to the downside around that 2 cent area that I warned about. So it's possible we'll pull back, fill that gap, fill this other gap right around that 1972. If we do not meet support there, then that would be where we would see these lower gap fill around that 17 over the course of many days. It's not going to be one big drop, and if it is, the whole market's going to drop really hard. Our money flow is trying to cross bullish. That VWAP wants to gain some strength. It's kind of fluttering here, not sure where it wants to go. The momentum wants to get green down, push forward, so I would watch the next few candles very close. Over on the 2 hour, momentum's overall losing its highs, pushing down, making bearish divergence with lower highs and lower lows, as price makes higher highs and higher lows. RSI is trying to trend up, Stochastic's trying to push up, it is starting to roll over, and that's making bearish divergence as well, as we have lower highs with higher highs on price. That VWAP and money flow want to push to the bullish side here, but it could fade away as we are in a pretty strong area of resistance. And we are not able to break through this resistance area to that 2.36 cent zone and make that support, then it is very likely we will start to pull back somewhere around this area. Over on XRP for the daily, so when I said the news was brewing yesterday, or a couple days ago, that was what we got that pump from yesterday for. We do have a bit of a red candle forming here. As you see, our point of control on our volume profile is starting to stop us out. We are bouncing off lower EMAs, but we are overall within our flag. We could start to see a push to the downside. If you want, you could also draw a symmetrical triangle here if we make a round and make lower highs with a higher bottom. Our stochastic wants to run up. RSI is starting to head out. Our VWAP is starting to roll away. Money flow is starting to push down. That momentum does want to gain some bullish strength, but with that VWAP in a bit of a high spot, it is likely we will see that roll over. Over on the 4 hour, we are kind of making a double top here. That could push us lower if we break around this 50.9 cent zone. Momentum is rolling away. RSI and stochastic are pushing down. That VWAP and money flow want to break to the bearish side, pushing our momentum out. So overall, nothing's too strong here on the 4 hour either. If we look at the 2 hour, RSI is rolling away. Stochastic is pushing down, which is weakening that RSI. Momentum is overall pushing out. That VWAP is in the bearish territory, which is bringing our momentum down. And the money flow is starting to break bearish as everything else is pushing under. If this money flow maintains bearish action and that VWAP zigzags around, we could start a bearish break to the downside. We might have, we're 0.5% down, so it could be a little whimper, start of a whimper, but we could see a further breakdown. RSI is starting to head out. Momentum starting to roll away. That stochastic wants to push down. Our money flow is testing that neutral. Watch for it to break to the bearish side. If it flips into the bearish side and breaks here, that 2 hour break to the bearish side would confirm across the 1 and 2 hour. If it leads into the 4 hour, that is where we'll see that stronger push to the downside. Don't forget that little strategy there. VWAP is pushing into the bearish territory, and it's making a consistent low. If our VWAP makes a new low, that could bring our money flow under, and that's where we could see that bear trend start. Finally, for Algorand for the day, we are trying to push our support area. We are trying to make a rounding bottom real quick. If you haven't, hit that like. RSI is trying to head up. Our stochastic's trying to head up. That money flow wants to break that neutral. That VWAP wants to break neutral. And the momentum's trying to push forward. We do have some potential for some bullish action here. We're going to have to watch these lower time frames and see if they maintain that bullish strength. 4 hour, we are looking a little dicey here. This could be some sort of very sloppy cup and handle, like the sloppiest one I've ever seen, that could try to push us to around this 9.5 cent zone. But if that does not play out, this would be a retest of our support zone, resistance area for now. If we confirm it as resistance by pulling under, then we would want to look for those lower price targets. Stochastic is starting to pull out, RSI is trying to head up, that VWAP's overall starting to get lower highs, but is sustaining bullish strength, which is helping bring our money flow back up and our momentum back to the bullish side. So I would watch these lower time frames very closely. Over on the 2 hour, we do have a bit of a rejection of a breakthrough for our resistance, but we are trying to come back up and make another breakthrough. If we are able to break through here, we could see a push to the bullish side. Try to break this EMA level. We would want to get above this EMA level. If we hit this EMA level, stop with a green candle. The next candle likely could be red, as we did get rejected here before and back here. So we have a history of rejecting this red EMA currently. Our momentum's overall pushing out. We do have a green dot that wants to push our momentum forward, as our VWAP is trying to break to the bullish side, which is trying to bring our money flow back up. Our stochastic is overall edging its way down. It is very tight. It does want to get a bullish cross, but that cross just isn't happening. RSI wants to push up, but it's struggling, as that stochastic is struggling as well. Over on the 1 hour here, we did confirm above that red EMA. We're getting a very weak candle here that could signal we would get a rounding top and a push to the downside. If we see red candles after this, it is very likely we will break these EMAs and see a snap down. RSI is pretty flat. Stochastic wants to run up, that VWAP wants to push forward, the money flows in the bullish territory, and the momentum is trying to gain some strength, as that VWAP is in the bullish territory, which is helping give our money flow some strength. If this money flow and VWAP sustain this trend, we could see continual price action up. However, I would keep a close eye on it, as the rest of the market looks like it wants to pull back. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.